Sheriff Wade Collins had served Laughlin County for 17 years, but missing persons cases never got easier, especially when they involved children. 10-year-old Ellie Pearson had been gone for 4 days. The initial search had turned up nothing, no footprints leading from her backyard swing set, no disturbed earth in the surrounding woods, no fiber evidence on the chain-link fence. Just a half-eaten popsicle melting into the grass, as if she'd simply vanished mid-bite. Wade's German Shepherd, Tracker, had been with him through 8 of those 17 years, a steady presence with a near-perfect record for finding missing hikers and runaway teens. The dog padded beside him now, alert but calm as they approached the Pearson family's modest ranch house for the 3rd time. "I know we've been over this ground already," Wade told Mrs. Pearson, whose eyes had developed a glassy, distant quality since day 2. "But I want to try something different with Tracker today." She nodded mechanically. "Whatever you need to do, Sheriff." Wade held out a small Ziploc bag containing the pillowcase from Ellie's bed. Standard procedure was to give the dog a scent article at the beginning of a search, but Wade had been holding this one back. Child abduction cases followed patterns, and most children taken from their homes were found within a half-mile radius, if they were found at all. They'd already covered that ground thoroughly. Today, he wanted Tracker to approach the scene fresh, without the lingering scent trails from previous searches clouding his instincts. "Where exactly was Ellie when you last saw her?" Wade asked, though he already knew the answer. "On the swing," Mrs. Pearson replied tonelessly. "I was inside making dinner. I could see her through the kitchen window. Then the phone rang, my sister calling about Mom's birthday. I turned away for maybe 3 minutes. When I looked back out, she was gone." Wade nodded and led Tracker to the swing set. He crouched beside the dog, speaking in the low, steady tone he used for work. "Find her, boy. Find Ellie." Tracker sniffed the pillowcase thoroughly, then began working the area around the swing in widening circles. Wade watched intently, noting how the dog moved with methodical precision, nose occasionally lifting to test the air before returning to the ground. After 15 minutes, Tracker suddenly stiffened and lifted his head. His ears perked forward, focused on the tree line that marked the boundary between the Pearsons' property and the dense woods beyond. "Got something?" Wade murmured. Tracker began moving with purpose toward the trees. Wade followed, conscious of Mrs. Pearson watching from the back porch. He'd learned long ago not to give family members false hope. He said nothing to her as they crossed the yard. The initial search teams had combed these woods extensively, including with other K-9 units. But Tracker was moving with the unmistakable determination that meant he'd caught a scent. Wade switched on his body camera and radio. "Collins here. Following Tracker into the northeast section of woods behind the Pearson property. Dog is showing positive indication." The dispatcher acknowledged, and Wade knew backup would be on its way. Meanwhile, Tracker moved deeper into the trees, pausing occasionally to confirm the scent before continuing with renewed certainty. They'd gone perhaps a quarter mile when the dog stopped abruptly at the base of a large oak tree. Wade scanned the area, seeing nothing unusual, no disturbed ground, no torn clothing, no signs of struggle. But Tracker was insistent, circling the tree, then looking up its trunk. Wade followed the dog's gaze. The oak was ancient, with a massive hollow about 15 feet up where a branch had long ago broken off and rot had set in. The opening was dark, approximately 2 feet in diameter. "Ellie?" Wade called, knowing it was futile. Searchers with drones had scanned the forest canopy on day 1. A child in a tree hollow would have been spotted. Tracker whined anxiously, a sound Wade had rarely heard him make. The dog stood on his hind legs, front paws against the tree trunk, staring up at the hollow. Wade retrieved binoculars from his pack and focused on the opening. At first, he saw only darkness. Then, as his eyes adjusted, he noticed what appeared to be fabric, something synthetic, blue in color. Ellie had been wearing a blue shirt when she disappeared. His pulse quickened as he radioed for the fire department's ladder truck. "Possible visual on evidence relating to the Pearson case. Need assistance accessing a tree hollow, approximately 15 feet elevation." While waiting, Wade photographed the scene and secured a perimeter. Tracker remained fixated on the tree, occasionally emitting that same unsettled whine. "What is it, boy?" Wade asked quietly. "What are you sensing?" The ladder truck arrived 20 minutes later, along with 2 deputies and a crime scene technician. Wade briefed them quickly, then donned gloves and climbed the extended ladder with the tech, Tom Randall, following close behind. As Wade reached the hollow, the smell hit him, subtle but unmistakable. Death had a distinctive odor, one he'd encountered too many times in his career. But this was different, not the expected decomposition smell. It was musty, almost medicinal, with an underlying sweetness that made his stomach turn. "Tom, I've got a confined space with potential biological evidence," he called down. "I'm seeing what appears to be clothing matching Ellie's description." Wade switched on his tactical flashlight and aimed it into the hollow. The blue fabric was indeed a child's shirt, wadded into a shape that initially resembled a small body. But as he leaned closer, he realized it contained no body at all, just tightly packed leaves and twigs formed into a crude human shape, with the shirt stretched over it. "What the hell?" he muttered. Beside the shirt-wrapped form was a small plastic bag containing what appeared to be hair, blonde, like Ellie's, and a child's hair clip with a butterfly design. Ellie's mother had described such a clip when listing distinguishing items. Most disturbing of all was a series of small, precise cuts in the fabric of the shirt, arranged in a pattern Wade didn't recognize, not random damage, but deliberate, almost surgical incisions. As Wade documented the scene with his camera, he noticed something else: tiny, spindle-legged insects crawling within the hollow. Not spiders, but something he'd never seen before. They moved with an unsettling synchronicity, as if coordinated. "Tom, I'm going to need sample containers for some unusual insects up here," Wade called down. The technician was passing up an evidence collection kit when Tracker suddenly began barking, not his alert bark, but a deep, aggressive sound Wade had rarely heard from him. The dog was no longer focused on the tree but on something deeper in the forest. Wade glanced in that direction and saw nothing. Yet Tracker's hackles were raised, his body rigid with alarm. "Secure this scene," Wade told the deputies as he descended the ladder. "No one touches anything until we get a full forensic team out here." Unclipping his weapon holster, Wade moved toward Tracker. "What is it, boy? What do you see?" The dog growled, a low rumble that Wade felt more than heard. Then, abruptly, Tracker bolted into the trees, faster than Wade had ever seen him move. "Tracker! Heel!" Wade called, breaking into a run after him. The dog disappeared into the underbrush. Wade followed, calling repeatedly, his hand resting on his holstered weapon. He'd gone perhaps 50 yards when he heard it, a yelp of pain, cut suddenly short. "Tracker!" Wade drew his sidearm and moved forward cautiously, scanning the forest floor for signs of his dog. The silence was absolute. No birds, no insects, not even the sound of wind in the trees. Wade felt a prickling sensation across his scalp, an instinctive warning honed through years of law enforcement. He found Tracker lying on his side in a small clearing, unnaturally still. As Wade approached, he realized with horror that the dog wasn't breathing. There were no visible wounds, no blood, just Tracker's lifeless form, his eyes open and fixed, his limbs stiff as if rigor mortis had already set in, though that was biologically impossible. Wade knelt beside his partner, checking for a pulse he knew wouldn't be there. As he moved his hand, he noticed something clutched in Tracker's jaws, a scrap of fabric, not from Ellie's clothing, but something else. Dark green, coarse-textured, with an oily sheen that didn't look like any commercial fabric Wade had encountered. And there was something else, a smell emanating from the cloth that matched the medicinal sweet odor from the tree hollow, only stronger, more concentrated. Wade carefully extracted the fabric from Tracker's jaws, placing it in an evidence bag. As he sealed it, he noticed his hands were shaking. A twig snapped somewhere behind him. Wade spun, weapon raised, but saw only shadows between trees. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, observed with clinical detachment, like a specimen in a lab. His radio crackled. "Sheriff? We've found something else in the hollow." You need to see this. Wade backed slowly away from Tracker's body, unwilling to leave his partner but knowing he needed to secure help and preserve the evidence. On my way, he responded, his voice sounding foreign to his own ears. And send Anderson and Mitchell to my GPS coordinates. Officer down, it's Tracker. As Wade made his way back toward the tree, his mind raced through possibilities. No natural predator would kill a large dog without leaving marks. No toxin would work so quickly without obvious symptoms. And nothing explained the bizarre shrine in the tree, the doll-like effigy made from Ellie's shirt, the precisely arranged keepsakes, the strange insects. Most of all, nothing explained the growing certainty in Wade's mind that whatever had taken Ellie and killed Tracker was still in these woods, watching him right now. Something methodical enough to create that shrine. Something fast enough to kill a trained police dog in seconds. Something intelligent enough to stay hidden despite an extensive search. When Wade reached the oak tree, Tom was waiting at the base, his face drained of color. What did you find? Wade asked. Tom wordlessly handed him a small, clear evidence bag. Inside was a Polaroid photograph showing Ellie Pearson, alive, eyes wide with terror, sitting in what appeared to be a confined space lined with the same dark green material as the scrap found in Tracker's mouth. The photo was time-stamped from yesterday. Scrawled across the bottom in precise, almost mechanical handwriting were 7 words that made Wade's blood run cold. Others will follow. Do not look for her. Wade stared at the photo, then at the dense forest surrounding them, suddenly aware that this was no longer just a missing child case. This was something else entirely. Something that understood human behavior well enough to leave warnings. Something methodical enough to create rituals. Something that could move through these woods undetected by search teams. Get everyone out of these woods, he ordered Tom. Now. And as additional officers arrived to secure the scene, Wade couldn't shake the certainty that whatever had taken Ellie, whatever had killed Tracker, was watching them right now, learning their patterns, studying their responses. Waiting. Their patterns, studying their responses. Waiting. Sheriff Leanne Mercer had seen plenty of disturbing cases in her 15 years with the Ridgepoint County Sheriff's Department, but something about this one lodged under her skin like a splinter. For the 3rd time that week, she found herself parked outside the modest apartment complex where Morgan Foster lived, scanning the surrounding buildings, feeling the weight of her service weapon against her ribs. Morgan Foster, 20 years old, community college student, part-time barista. No enemies, no romantic entanglements gone sour, no family drama. Just a normal young woman whose life had been systematically dismantled over the past 6 weeks by someone who never touched her, never spoke to her, yet had managed to turn her existence into a waking nightmare. Leanne's phone buzzed with a text from Deputy Carson. All clear on the east perimeter. They'd been running this unofficial surveillance for 4 nights now, against the department's budget constraints and the sheriff's explicit orders. But Leanne couldn't shake the certainty that conventional measures weren't going to work here. This wasn't some lovesick ex-boyfriend or garden variety stalker. This was something more calculated. The sliding door to Morgan's 2nd-floor balcony opened, and the young woman stepped out, hugging herself against the evening chill. Even from this distance, Leanne could see how her head swiveled constantly, eyes scanning the parking lot, the street, the adjacent buildings. The hypervigilance of prey. Leanne's mind flashed back to their first meeting, 3 weeks into the harassment. Morgan had walked into the station looking like she hadn't slept in days, clutching a manila folder filled with meticulously documented incidents. The girl's matter-of-fact delivery had been more unsettling than tears would have been. It started with the photos, Morgan had explained, sliding printouts across the desk. These were pushed under my apartment door. 1 each day for a week. The images showed Morgan going about her daily life, walking to class, working at the coffee shop, shopping for groceries. Ordinary moments made sinister by the knowledge that someone had been watching, documenting, without her awareness. Then this showed up on my windshield. She produced a typed note, carefully preserved in a plastic sleeve. I know when you're alone. It read. Nothing more. The incidents had escalated from there. Morgan's apartment had been entered while she was at work, Nothing stolen, nothing damaged, just small things rearranged. A coffee mug moved from one cabinet to another. Her shampoo bottle refilled after she'd nearly emptied it. Her laptop screensaver changed to a photo of herself sleeping. The security footage from her apartment building had shown nothing. No forced entry. No suspicious figures. It was as if whoever was doing this could walk through walls or bend light around themselves. The worst part, Morgan had said, her voice finally cracking, is that I can feel them watching. All the time. Even now. Her eyes had darted to the station windows. They're never going to stop, are they? Now, watching Morgan retreat back into her apartment, Leanne wondered if she'd been right. Every lead had evaporated. Every trap had caught nothing. The few fingerprints they'd found belonged to Morgan or her occasional visitors. The threatening notes contained no DNA, no distinctive paper source, nothing that could be traced. Her radio crackled. "Movement in the northwest lot," came Deputy Alvarez's voice. "Male subject, average height, dark clothing, moving between vehicles." Leanne was out of her car instantly, hand on her holstered weapon. "Description?" "Lost visual," Alvarez responded. "Moving to intercept." Leanne circled toward the northwest parking area, staying in the shadows, scanning methodically. The lot was half empty, most residents already home for the evening. Nothing moved between the parked cars. "Alvarez, location?" she murmured into her radio. Static answered her. A prickling sensation crawled up Leanne's neck. She drew her weapon and moved more cautiously, using the parked cars as cover. "Alvarez, report." More static then. "Negative contact. Subject disappeared between buildings C and D." Buildings C and D formed a narrow passage that led to a service road behind the complex. Leanne changed direction, moving swiftly but silently around the perimeter. If their subject was using that route as an escape, she might be able to cut them off. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. A text from a number she didn't recognize. "You're looking in the wrong place, Sheriff." Leanne froze, scanning the darkness around her. How did they know she was here? How did they have her number? A second text arrived. "She's not safe, even with you watching." Cold dread pulled in Leanne's stomach as she broke into a run, heading back toward Morgan's building. She radioed Carson and Alvarez. "Converge on Foster's apartment now." The exterior door to Morgan's building required a key fob for entry, but Leanne found it propped open with a small rock. Inside, she took the stairs two at a time, reaching the second-floor hallway just as Carson emerged from the elevator at the far end. Morgan's door was closed, no signs of forced entry. Leanne knocked sharply. "Morgan?" "It's Sheriff Mercer." No response. Carson joined her, hand on his weapon. "Should we breach?" Leanne tried the handle. Unlocked. Another violation of their safety protocols. She pushed the door open slowly, announcing their presence again. The apartment was dark except for the glow of Morgan's laptop on the kitchen counter. Leanne moved through the space methodically, clearing each room, until she reached the bedroom. Morgan sat on the edge of her bed, pale and trembling, staring at her phone. "Morgan?" Leanne approached carefully. "Are you all right?" The young woman looked up, her expression blank with shock. Without speaking, she held out her phone. On the screen was a photo taken less than 10 minutes ago, Morgan on her balcony, hugging herself against the cold. Below it, a message. "I can reach you whenever I want." "Check the balcony," Leanne ordered Carson, moving to sit beside Morgan. "I thought it would stop," Morgan whispered. "When you started watching the building. I thought they'd be scared off. We'll find whoever's doing this," Leanne assured her, though the certainty she'd felt days ago was eroding with each failed attempt to catch the stalker. Carson returned from the balcony. Clear. No signs of anyone having been out there. Leanne's phone vibrated again. Another text. "You'll never catch me. This is between Morgan and me." She showed the message to Carson, whose eyes widened. "How the hell?" "I don't know." Leanne cut him off, not wanting to further frighten Morgan. "Get Alvarez up here." full sweep of the building and surrounding area. After Carson left, Leanne gently questioned Morgan. Had she seen anything unusual? Heard anything? Had any strangers approached her recently? Morgan shook her head to each question, then hesitated. There is one thing. My sleep app. I use it to track my sleep quality and... She picked up her phone, opened an application, and showed Leanne a graph. It keeps showing that I'm waking up at exactly 3:17 a.m. every night. But I don't remember waking up. Leanne felt that cold dread returning. Every night? For the past 2 weeks. And sometimes, when I wake up in the morning, things are different. Not moved exactly. Just used. Like my coffee mug feels warm. Or my shower is slightly damp. Or my computer chair is adjusted to a different height. The implications were horrifying. Someone wasn't just watching Morgan from a distance. They were entering her apartment while she slept, moving around her, possibly watching her in her most vulnerable state. You're staying at a hotel tonight, Leanne decided. Pack what you need. I'll have a deputy stationed outside your door. Morgan nodded numbly and began gathering essentials. Leanne stepped into the hallway to update her deputies and arrange for the hotel, fighting the growing certainty that they were missing something obvious. When she returned to the bedroom, Morgan was zipping a small overnight bag. Ready, she said quietly. As they moved toward the front door, Morgan's laptop screen suddenly changed from its standard screensaver to a live video feed of Morgan's bedroom, from an angle that suggested a camera hidden in the ceiling vent. The image showed Morgan and Leanne from just moments ago, Morgan packing while Leanne stood in the doorway. That's not possible. Leanne breathed, moving to the laptop. The feed switched to show the apartment's living room, then the kitchen, then the bathroom. Multiple cameras, all hidden within the apartment itself. Morgan made a small, broken sound. They've been watching me inside my own home. Leanne's training kicked in. We need to get out now. These feeds could be monitored remotely or... Her phone vibrated again. Leaving so soon? The game is just getting interesting. As she read the message, the apartment's lights went out, plunging them into darkness broken only by the laptop's glow and the dim emergency lights in the hallway outside. Stay behind me, Leanne ordered, drawing her weapon again. She guided Morgan toward the door, moving carefully in the darkness, hyper-aware of every shadow, every potential hiding place. They were halfway across the living room when Leanne's flashlight beam caught something on the wall that hadn't been there before. A series of photographs arranged in a grid. Recent photos of Morgan sleeping. Of Morgan in her bathroom. Of Morgan changing clothes. Intimate moments stolen without her knowledge. And in the center of the grid, a photo Leanne recognized with stomach-churning clarity. Herself, sitting at her desk at the sheriff's station, taken through the window from outside. Next to it, a photo of her home, her car in the driveway. The message was clear. I can get to you both. Move, Leanne urged, pushing Morgan toward the door with new urgency. They burst into the hallway just as Carson returned with Alvarez. Building power's out, Carson reported. Backup generators only covering emergency lighting. Someone cut the main, Leanne concluded. This is coordinated. Get Morgan to my vehicle. She handed her keys to Alvarez. Stay with her. Carson, you're with me. We're doing a final sweep. After Morgan was safely escorted away, Leanne and Carson methodically searched the apartment, finding hidden cameras in every room, professionally installed, not amateur work. This wasn't opportunistic harassment. It was calculated surveillance requiring technical knowledge and planning. In the bedroom closet, behind Morgan's hanging clothes, they found something worse. A small space cleared among the storage boxes, containing a folding stool, an empty water bottle, and a tablet computer. A nest. Someone had been hiding inside Morgan's apartment, possibly for extended periods. Jesus, Carson breathed. They'd been living in here with her. Leanne's phone vibrated again. She almost didn't want to look, but forced herself to read the new message. She'll never feel safe again. That's the point. Tell her I'll be watching. Always. As they exited the building, Leanne spotted a handwritten note tucked under her windshield wiper. The paper was still dry despite the light drizzle that had started, placed there moments ago, not hours. "Round 1 to you, Sheriff," it read. "But there are so many other frightened girls in this town. Perhaps I'll find one who doesn't have your protection." Leanne scanned the parking lot, the surrounding buildings, the shadows between streetlights. Nothing moved, yet she couldn't shake the certainty that they were being observed at that very moment, their reactions documented, their weaknesses noted, their future movements already anticipated. "What kind of person does this?" Carson asked quietly as they approached her vehicle where Alvarez waited with Morgan. Leanne tucked the note into an evidence bag before Morgan could see it. "The kind that feeds on fear," she replied. "The kind that's watching us right now, enjoying what they've created." And as they drove away, Morgan huddled in the back seat. Leanne watched her rearview mirror, half expecting to see someone step out of the shadows and stand in the middle of the road, watching them leave. The parking lot remained empty. But the sense of being observed, assessed, didn't fade with distance. The game, as the stalker had put it, was just beginning. And Leanne had the sickening feeling that they all were playing by someone else's rules, rules designed to ensure that, even if they caught this predator, the damage was already done. Morgan would never feel truly safe again. None of them would. In the darkness of the back seat, Morgan's phone illuminated with a new message, not from an unknown number this time, but from her own email account, accessing itself autonomously. "Sleep well, Morgan. I'll see you in your dreams." Sheriff Diane Sawyer stared at the manila envelope on her desk, her stomach clenching as she reviewed its contents. 37 photographs of the Reeves family, Mark, Lisa, and their teenage children Caitlin and Jason, captured in moments they believed were private. Lisa watering plants on their deck. Mark retrieving mail in his bathrobe. Caitlin after soccer practice. Jason at his bedroom window, headphones on, eyes closed. The photos grew progressively more invasive. The family eating dinner, shot through their dining room window. Mark and Lisa arguing in their kitchen. Caitlin crying in her car. Jason sleeping, his bedroom window providing a perfect frame for whoever stood in their backyard. "When did the first envelope arrive?" Diane asked Mark Reeves, who sat across from her, shoulders hunched, eyes periodically darting to the office door. 12 days ago," he replied hoarsely. "Just a few photos that first time. Lisa thought it was a prank. Then 3 days later, another envelope. More photos. More personal ones. And this is the third delivery?" "Fourth," Mark corrected. "The third came 2 days ago. Just 5 pictures, all of Caitlin at her track meet. Close-ups of her face. She's 17, Sheriff." His voice broke. Who would do this? It was the question Diane had been asking herself since the Reeves first reported the harassment. The photos weren't explicitly threatening. No notes, no demands, no stated purpose. Just methodical documentation of the family's lives from angles making it clear they were under constant surveillance. "We're going to find out," she assured him with more confidence than she felt. 3 deputies had been working the case for a week with little progress. No usable fingerprints on the envelopes. No DNA. No witnesses who recalled seeing anyone suspicious around the Reeves property. The envelopes were always placed directly in their mailbox, bypassing the postal service, yet the family's security camera had captured nothing. "What should we do?" Mark asked, dark circles under his eyes testament to sleepless nights spent wondering if someone was watching his family. "We've installed additional cameras around your property," Diane reminded him. "Deputy Collins will continue patrolling your neighborhood. And I'd like to assign someone to follow Caitlin, given the focus on her in recent photos." Mark nodded wearily. "Lisa's talking about moving. Just packing up and leaving." "But—" he trailed off. "But what?" Diane prompted. "The way these photos are taken. The angles, the timing. It feels like whoever's doing this knows our routines too well. Like they've been watching us for months." Mark finally met her eyes. "What if we leave and they follow us? What if we never escape this?" The question hit at Diane's own concerns. The photographs revealed not just surveillance but intimate knowledge, an understanding of habits, schedules, and relationships suggesting prolonged observation. This wasn't opportunistic stalking. It was calculated, patient, methodical. One step at a time, she advised. Let's focus on immediate safety measures while we identify who's doing this. After Mark left, Diane arranged the photos chronologically. What had begun as long-distance surveillance had progressively moved closer, bolder, more invasive. The latest batch included photos taken through windows at night, meaning the photographer had been on their property undetected. Several showed Caitlin from multiple angles throughout a single day, at school, at practice, at a friend's house, suggesting the stalker wasn't just watching their house but actively following family members. Her cell phone rang. Deputy Luis Vasquez, one of her best investigators. I've been cross-referencing similar cases in neighboring counties, he said without preamble. 3 reports in Militant County, 2 in Westridge. All families receiving anonymous photographs over a period of weeks. Same photographer? Hard to say definitively, but similar MO progression from distant surveillance to close-up shots. Focus on teenagers. No explicit threats, no demands. What happened in those cases? Luis hesitated. They all just stopped. After 4 to 6 weeks, the photos stopped coming. No explanation. No suspect identified. The families? All fine, Luis assured her. No one was physically harmed. But all 5 families eventually moved away. According to Milton's sheriff, they were too traumatized to stay, even after the harassment ended. An unsettling theory formed. It's not about harming them physically. It's about making them feel violated, exposed, driving them away. But why? Luis asked. I don't know yet, Diane admitted. But I want background checks on everyone who moved into those neighborhoods after the families left. That evening, her phone rang again. Mark Reeves. Sheriff, he said, voice tight with panic. Another envelope just arrived. Left on our kitchen table while we were all in the living room. Inside our locked house. Diane's blood ran cold. I'm on my way. Don't touch anything. Get your family together in one room and stay there. The Reeves house was a well-maintained 2-story in a quiet subdivision, similar to the homes in previous cases. Upper middle class, relatively new construction, spacious lots with privacy fencing. Mark met her at the door, ashen-faced. In the kitchen, he said, leading her through. Lisa sat at the kitchen table, arms wrapped protectively around Caitlin, who stared blankly at the wall. Jason stood by the back door, peering through blinds into the darkening yard. On the table sat an envelope. Beside it, a house key. Our spare, Lisa whispered. We keep it hidden in a fake rock by the garden. Been there for years. No one knew except us. Diane opened the envelope. Inside were photos showing the family sleeping in their beds. Mark and Lisa together. Caitlin curled on her side. Jason sprawled across his mattress. The final photo showed the family at dinner the previous night, taken from inside the house, from someone standing in the darkened hallway. He's been inside before, Diane said quietly. Multiple times. We've been changing the locks, Mark said hollowly. Setting the alarm. Checking windows. I'm going to have deputies search your house thoroughly, Diane assured them. Looking for any signs of how they're getting in. We can't stay here, Lisa declared. Not tonight. Not ever again. Diane couldn't blame her. The violation was profound, not just of privacy, but of the fundamental sense of safety within one's home. The psychological damage was precisely calculated, she realized. Each delivery designed to escalate the family's fear and sense of helplessness. 3 days later, the Reeves sat across from Diane in the sheriff's department. The family had been staying at a hotel under an assumed name. No new photographs had arrived, but the damage was done. They jumped at shadows, flinched at unexpected sounds. We've found a connection, Diane told them, sliding over a folder. In all 5 previous cases, The homes were eventually purchased by different subsidiaries of the same development company, Meridian Holdings. They've been systematically acquiring properties in established neighborhoods, then filing for rezoning permits. Lisa frowned. What does that have to do with the photographs? Meridian has been facing strong opposition from homeowners associations. Diane explained. But when faced with motivated sellers, families desperate to leave after being terrorized, they've been able to buy properties at below market rates. Once they own enough parcels, they have more leverage to push through their development plans. Mark's face darkened. So someone's terrorizing families to drive down property values and force sales? That's our theory, Diane confirmed. 3 months ago, your homeowners association voted unanimously against a proposal to allow commercial development at the edge of your subdivision. 2 weeks later, the first photographs arrived. Who's doing this? Lisa demanded. We've identified a suspect, Diane replied. Robert Kane, 43. Freelance photographer with a history of trespassing complaints. He's done contract work for companies connected to Meridian. She showed them a photo of a nondescript man with thinning hair and wire-rimmed glasses. We believe he's been staying in a rental about a mile from your home. Lisa stared at the photo. He looks so ordinary. That's why he's effective, Diane explained. He blends in. What Diane didn't tell them was that Kane had already disappeared, his rental cleared out. She suspected he was already setting up his next assignment, selecting his next family to methodically terrorize. What should we do about our house? Mark asked. Diane couldn't promise safety if they returned. Even if they caught Kane, the psychological damage was done. Their home had been violated in the most intimate way. Someone had stood over their beds while they slept. How did anyone recover from that? That's a decision only your family can make, she said finally. 2 weeks later, Diane watched moving trucks load the Reeves furniture. The family had decided to relocate to another state, unwilling to risk being found again. The case against Meridian Holdings progressed slowly. Without direct evidence connecting them to Kane, they maintained plausible deniability, simply opportunistic buyers with no knowledge of why these homeowners were so motivated to sell. Diane's phone chimed with a text from Lise. New family moving into 247 Oak Ridge Drive. 2 adults, 3 kids. Youngest is 16. Oak Ridge was in the next subdivision, another upper-middle-class neighborhood Meridian had shown interest in. As Diane drove toward Oak Ridge, she wondered what innocent family moments were already being captured through telephoto lenses, what private vulnerabilities were being documented by someone standing in shadows, watching and waiting for fear to do its work. The most terrifying realization was that the violation that had destroyed the Reeves' sense of safety could happen to anyone, including her. She glanced at her rearview mirror, sudden paranoia making her search for a vehicle that might be following her home. After all, what better way to hamper an investigation than to make the investigator the next target? Thanks so much for watching. I can't express enough how much your support means. The likes, the comments, it all really helps the channel grow. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. I always take the time to read them. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss out on any new videos. See you next time.